You're going to love my idea today, by the way. You're going to be upset you didn't get more time to prepare for it.
Oh, really?
It's music related.
Man.
It's like telling you there's a whole bunch of presents waiting for you in the other room.
Will I have to compile lists or evaluate lists or?
Oh, not quite, but it's kind of in that ballpark. But I'm not going to say any more.
No. Right.
Let's just say you're going to be like, oh, I need more time for this.
No, right.
Are you wearing nail polish?
I am, yeah. My youngest daughter is obsessed with nail polish and she has lots and lots of colours. And so I get to pick the colours and she tries out just on the left hand. So I say you can have one hand. But I've become quite used to it now. And I actually look at them and go, oh, it needs to be touched up a little bit. Honey, where are you?
Tim, you know I love you, but your nails are not something you should be drawing attention to.
Well, that's the other reason. You see, I notoriously bite my nails and they look disgusting because I've done it for years and years and years. And this is partly her strategy to get me to stop biting my nails.
Okay, yeah.
But what happens is it works. It works to some degree because I go to bite my nails and I see the nail polish or taste it and I go, oh, hello, I shouldn't be biting my nails. But then at other times, I'll be munching on the other hand. I'll be biting and the thought goes through my hand, oh, wait, you might have nail. And then I go, oh, no, it's okay. It's the other hand. And then I just keep munching away and biting my
Terrible.
It's a terrible habit. By golly, I've had it a long time.
If anyone's got any ideas to help Tim break the habit, send them in. That's what a good podcast idea that is. How I broke a habit or breaking habits. Because, you know, that's one of humanity's great, conundrums, isn't it? How do I break a bad habit?
Everyone forever suggests ideas like you should put that disgusting stuff on your fingers. But I tried that about 20 years ago.
What, KFC?
Yeah. I shouldn't have put it on while I was holding a piece of chicken because it just slipped off. I don't know how. It was more of a bad aftertaste. What I need is like an electric fence to go on my fingertips where I put it in my mouth and, oh, yes. But nothing seems to be that strong.
Would you consider hypnosis?
I would consider it, yeah. I'm skeptical about it, but I would consider it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's hear some ideas, people. Anyway, some parish notices. In the last episode, Tim had an idea with a terrible name. What was it? The Capulus something? Capulus podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Or it was to do, basically, because Capulus is Latin for hair, and Tim's idea was people who've had their hair cut, that it's changed their life. Either for the worst, which seemed to be the more common one, your Michael Bolton cases in point.
Yes.
Or maybe for the positive, Bon Jovi sort of managed to have a haircut successfully. Anyway, we heard from Jenny in South Carolina. She said, "Hi, Tim and Brady. I have an anecdote about cutting my hair in a drastic way. When I was in my early 20s, I had a chronic illness that caused me to be mostly housebound and occasionally bedbound. In a subconscious attempt to regain control of my life, I cut off over 12 inches of hair in one go.
Wow.
I donated the hair to a program that turns hair into wigs for children with cancer, alopecia, and other hair loss conditions. It made me feel literally lighter. Hair is actually quite heavy at those lengths. And I felt good about being able to contribute to society in the only way I could think of as a chronically ill person. Shortly thereafter, I overcame some of the factors making me ill, and I've since been able to move my life forward. I am now married with 2 children. I'm not sure if cutting my hair was what greased the wheels in my health journey, allowing me to improve physically, but it certainly helped me mentally, which can be a big factor in getting better from many kinds of illnesses."
Good stuff.
Attached to some before and after pictures from Jenny, South Carolina. Lovely. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, good stuff, Jenny. That's great. I think we placed far too much importance on hair. Having long hair, we spend a lot of money on it, a lot of time on it, and it is very little importance, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy for me to say. I have spectacular hair, but...
yeah. But thanks for making me feel better.
I love the idea that people can either be Samsons or John Bon Jovis. It's either ruins their life or makes them like two great. The whole world is divided up into people who are either in the tradition of Samson or John Bon Jovi.
I can't believe the story of John Bon Jovi didn't make the cut for the Bible.
I know. I tell you, his Delilah, Delilah gets a bad rap in the Samson story, but what if his hairdresser was Delilah and she gave him a whole second wind in his career? Delilah's, what a wonderful gift.
I'm not I don't believe the Bible stories are true, right? And you probably don't either. You probably think a lot of them are also allegorical. I don't know what you think. But anyway, I think the story of Samson is probably not a true story, right? But let's say it was, or it is. I think going back in time and seeing Delilah is one of the characters from history I would most like to see.
Oh.
Because, she was such a beauty, apparently, and, was able to, completely, subvert Samson because of his, infatuation for her. I wonder what she looked like.
Whether she was generically understood as beautiful or she just captured his eye. You know what I mean? You know how some people...
Yeah, maybe she just had a great sense of humour.
Yeah, that's right. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe she looked like you, but she was just funny.
If only I was funny. I already look like me.
Tim, you're my Delilah, Tim.
Man, you've got to sing it. You're my Delilah. They are true, by the way. The stories in the Bible.
You think Samson and Delilah is a true story like that? So that there really was a guy who had long hair and was a great warrior and cut his hair and as a result lost his strength.
Yes,
I think that's a true thing, right? Okay,
I think it is a true thing, or it's a telling of a true story. Yes, I do. I think there's true. In other words, because you've got to look at the stories in the Bible in their context. Some are parables; they're made up to make a moral point. Some are kind of metaphors for other things, and some are historical events. And so you've got to look at them on their categories, in their appropriate genre. That one, I think, probably has some factual basis to it.
So his hair, having long hair made him strong, and having short hair made him suddenly weaker and able to be bound and tied up. And he was able to push down pillars and make a whole big place collapse and stuff.
Yes, I think there's Michael Bolton's proof of the fact that it can happen, but pushing in behind...
Actually, you got me there.
He pushed down a whole career just with one short haircut. But I do think it depends on what you mean by he had superhuman strength. Well, it is possible that there was a particular strain of person who was put aside as a Nazarite and he had particular strengths and he was stronger than other people and he had particular tasks to do. So I do think there's a factual basis to it. But I wouldn't want to look at it like a Marvel story and say, well, hang on, someone sat down and said, hey, once upon a time, let's imagine. You know what I mean? I believe there's a factual basis to it.
Okay.
This is in no way endorsing whether people should cut their hair or grow their hair, by the way. Everyone needs to make that decision for themselves, whether they are... Because you don't know until you've done it whether you are a Samson or a John Bon Jovi. You don't know whether the new day will bring something good.
Exactly. I mean, Jenny was a John Bon Jovi.
That's right. Yes.
I believe you have a parish notice, Tim.
Oh, I do. I got an update. People will remember that my love for KFC, well, some might say / addiction to KFC was...
or lust.
Lust. My Delilah-like relationship with KFC began in Traralgon, the town where I grew up. Yeah. And there was a KFC in Traralgon long before there was a McDonald's, which is why I think it captured my heart first. But there were reports of the massive bucket out the front, the big sign being dismantled, deconstructed, and that for quite a while the post was naked out the front of KFC.
It was just this sort of skeleton of a bucket, wasn't there, with no skin on it, no no KFC logo. It was just it was nude.
It would have been grief-stricken to look at, It was. I think people were bringing flowers at the base and using it as a sort of a memorial. It's marking the potential death of KFC in Traralgon. Anyway, the parish notice is that we have an update. And the update has come via a friend of Colonel Katrina who just happened to be driving through Traralgon and sent through a video which showed that, I don't know if this was intended or not, whether there was damage to the bucket and that's why it was taken away and replaced, or whether it's just an upgrade. I suspect it may just have been an upgrade because the bucket has been returned, restored, and it's new and improved. It's not just round, it's a much more accurate rendering of the bucket. It's shiny, it's big, it's beautiful. It's sort of the sort of thing you'd imagine you'd see on the Strip at Las Vegas, really. But it's there, and like a beacon of hope for the people of Traralgon, all is well.
Here is a video of the beautiful bucket at KFC. Completed, very shiny, absolutely beautiful, looking great. It is the 26th of March. It's been a while since we've come to check on it, but there you go.
Glad to see the bucket is back.
Makes you want to drive to Traralgon, doesn't it, to see it?
I also have a KFC-related parish notice. I went to our post box the other day, and there was an incredibly heavy item, and I brought it home and opened it, and this was sent from Michael in Toronto, and I looked at like that customs form that is on the outside of the box, which sort of sometimes gives away what the contents are, and it said novelty fire log. And I was like, I think I know what's coming here. And it turns out Michael has purchased and sent from Canada at considerable cost. It costs a lot of money to send this. Here it is, Tim. I have one of these KFC fire logs that they've been selling. Here it is in the box. It's still boxed and sealed in plastic. It's huge. It's heavy. And this is a log that you can put in your fireplace or your burner or whatever. And supposedly the smell of KFC will then waft from it. I have not yet burned it. I will not be burning it in the house. It has been very, very heavily sanctioned by my wife, who has a particular dislike for KFC. But let me read what it says here on the box. Use any time for an extra crispy fire. Chicken lovers, it's cold outside, and that means it's time to ignite the old fireplace. This season, the warmth of delicious fried chicken will fill more than just your belly. Now it can fill your home too. When the weather outside gets frightful, just throw a fire log on the fire, sit back and enjoy the delicious smell of fried chicken in complete cozy bliss. Just make sure you don't eat it. That would hurt.
Is this a legitimate product from KFC, or is it a sort of a novelty rip-off or something? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's like a bit of an attempt at garnering publicity, but it's a legitimate thing that you could buy.
Yeah.
I can't... It's sealed in plastic, so I'm not getting much of a smell from it at the moment.
Right.
There's like a plastic shrink wrap around the box. But I'm thinking maybe I'll go out and burn it like in the park one day or something. I'll do a live recording and report back to you.
Oh, yes. Magnificent.
But thank you, Michael. That's cost you a lot of money to send. Money that you could have used to support us on Patreon, but hey, fire log's nice too.
I've never heard of someone sending a log through the mail before. That really is quite something. Nice.
Check out. I'll put a picture in the notes for the show and on the screen for the YouTube version, as always.
This isn't parish notice. This is more of a comment without notice. You're wearing the Top Gun T-shirt, I notice. Yeah. What's happened to the Top Gun sequel, Maverick? Isn't it supposed to have been out by now?
It's around because I've heard stories of people who've seen it, like Tom Cruise organised a showing to some group of athletes or something at some point. So it's around, but I don't know what's going on.
Needs a release date. I wasn't in the mood when you first brought it up, but I feel like I'm in the mood for it now. I'd like to know.
Yeah. You're feeling the need for speed?
I am feeling the need. There we go.
All right. Ideas for a podcast. You want to go first today, Tim?
Yeah. Look, mine's, in one sense, it's very simple, but it's, I think, it could potentially be a very popular idea. I'll give you the boring Brady name for this podcast is the Good News Podcast, or Good News Only. The exciting, innovative Tim name for this could be Glass Half Full. But this is a podcast where the first half explores only good news.
Yeah.
Thinking about people in the helping professions, people in draining jobs, people facing tough situations, driving home at the end of the day, or the last thing you want to listen to before you go to bed is a report on anecdotes, stories, news and facts from around the world that are good. Good news. Yeah. This has been improved. This has helped this happened, this person was saved, and so forth. That's half the idea. The other half of the idea is, and this could be a segment within the glass half full, which is called positive spin. And that would be when news and things that have happened in the world are framed in a way, they're given a positive spin. They're presented in a way where we can extract some positives out of what might be a negative or a neutral situation. So it's a podcast that's short, sharp, but lifts the spirits and gives you an update of what's happening around the world from a more hopeful perspective.
Okay. So that guy who was the main character, not Steve Carell, but the other main character in The American Office, during the pandemic, he started like a YouTube channel like this, didn't he? That was called that was just Good News, like a YouTube thing. And for a while it was quite popular, and then he sold it, I think, to like some big company because it had become popular, but with not him hosting it anymore. And as soon as he wasn't hosting it, it just died. So
right, that's bad news.
Yeah. Well, there was famously also, I'm sure we've discussed it on the podcast before, there was a newspaper that had this policy too of only printing good news stories, and it went out of business because it wasn't popular enough. But it didn't report that it was going out of business. It just stopped because that would have been bad news. So it just stopped one day. So the idea of, good news only is, tried and tested. I like your idea of the positive spin though too. Can we somehow report the bad news in the world in a way that's a bit more positive? I do sometimes get a little bit frustrated by those people who say, I don't watch the news because it's all too negative.
Yes.
If you don't want to consume news, fair enough, but saying, I don't want to know about the negative stuff, I think is a little bit of an ostrich philosophy to life.
Yes. This is a little bit different in the sense that or maybe it's a correction to that this wouldn't avoid bad news, but it would be full and frank in looking the reality of situations, but being able to give a more hopeful spin on it or frame it in a way that says, look where this can go, or what this, like something ending creates the opportunity for something new. As Mother Superior says in The Sound of Music, whenever God shuts a door, he always opens a window. Like it opens.
I just had a good name for your podcast, a Tim name for it. You ready?
Yes.
The Pollyanna Podcast. At the Glad game. She was always, whenever something bad happened, Pollyanna always found something happy and glad to say about it. A reason to be glad.
My father said, don't let's be gloomy. Let's try and find something to be glad about. So we made a game of it. The Glad game.
You would have to be careful that it's not just a denial, but I was thinking more of something that searched down and found good news. It's not that the news is full of good news. Of course, the news has to include what's happened, but they also make calls on what's going to be the most important thing to say, but also what people want to hear. So it's fair enough to say, I imagine there's a whole bunch of news. In other words, they're not covering all the news. They're only covering all the news that they can fit into the time they've decided to give to the news segment. So it's a news service that deliberately goes searching for good news and presents it.
So would the point of this podcast, as it is in your head, be to keep one informed of the world? Would this be a podcast I use to know what's going on? There's a war in this part of the world, this person's died, this team won the sport. Or would it be more filled with those kind of, and finally, novelty stories about the person who found a bottle in the ocean, or the dog that found its way home after 7 years, or which of those two things is it? Is this like, does this serve a real informative purpose, or is it more entertainment and cheering up?
I like to think it's a bit of both, but that's because I think that would make it better entertainment. Like it is a little bit like, I think you do need personal stories. Now, to some degree, personal stories aren't really newsworthy, but they are uplifting and they're true and they happen. But I also think that there's bigger stories that are important about where the poverty line has shifted to, about like we talk about the rise of China, right? And you can talk about the rise and growth in the economic rise of China as getting quickly towards being the largest economy in the world. And that's often talked about in terms of it being a threat to other nations and to the geopolitical balance of the world. But inside that is a good news story that there's 1 billion people being lifted out of poverty. Like it's just an absolute miracle of a transformation that's going on. And now that has downside detrimental effects about the environment and what does it mean for them to all be consumers. But it does also mean that it's been life-changing for, around 1 billion people. That's the good news lens on something that's complex and difficult and big.
So would your Pollyanna podcast ignore all those like environmental concerns and human rights and stuff like that? Would it shut its eyes to that? Is that the point? Because if you don't, then what's the point? You're just like a news show. So are you going to ignore the negative about things? It sounds like that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you're just making a news magazine show.
Well, I think you can emphasise something. You can say, given these are the facts, let's look at this unseen good news bit in the midst of all that. And that's a difficult editorial decision, isn't it? But
it sounds like you're already backtracking.
Backtracking to...
Yeah. So
we will be even-handed.
Would your podcast, as you envisage it, as it slowly crumbles before my interrogation, would your podcast replace the need to watch the normal news? Would I still need to watch the BBC News to know what's going on in the world, or could I listen to your podcast and that's your feel, that's what's going on in the world, and I know what's going on in the world, just in a more happy way?
No, it wouldn't replace that. It is for entertainment. It's for a pick-me-up. It's something that you might watch after the news to feel a little bit better.
Is it a joke? Is it like defending the undefensible, in a funny way? Or is it trying to be serious?
In my mind, it's trying to be serious, but
right.
No, otherwise it would be too cynical, wouldn't it? It would be a satire on good news, and it would be a bit too black. There might be another comedic idea in that, but it's not a very good comedic idea.
There's a radio show I listen to called Fighting Talk, which I really like, on BBC 5 Live, it's mainly sports oriented, and it's 4 comedians all trying to get points off each other. And the final, when it comes down to the 2 finalists to decide the winner, the segment is called Defend the Undefensible, and they're given a statement which is clearly bordering on offensive or something you could never possibly agree with, and they have to, for 1 minute, passionately and strongly make the case for that thing.
Yeah.
And so that's actually really funny, listening to them defend the undefensible position.
I like that.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
Can I say, in that vein, when you have to read something from a mirror image or take the opposite view or the contrarian view, there's 2 things on Twitter that tripped me up in more recently. One of them is, how you have news services run through social media, and so that gives you a bit of a few headlines, as well as news from your friends and news from this pop star and all the rest of it. But then, of course, I subscribe to a few satirical news services like The Onion, who are giving you the day's news, but of course, it's in a satirical way. It's ironic, or it's a buffoonery version. And so it's really hard when you read that. First of all, you might trip over it, which is funny, and then look at it and laugh at it. But what I find is, if I actually look at them for a while, if I go scrolling down through Onion, your mind shifts to this sarcastic, satiric kind of mode. So then when you come back to the real news, you're tripping over it all the time, and you go, as if this particular devastating event is just being said in an ironic way. And it's really funny. Your brain has to shift between those.
Yeah.
The other thing that tripped me up more recently, though, was, of course, and gives you the biggest eye roll. There's 2 days in the year that give me a big eye roll. The first one is May the 4th. And then where everyone just goes, "May the 4th be with you," over and over again. And that's just yeah, okay. The second one is on April Fool's Day, where every friggin' company and corporation in the world feels the need to release some jokey product that, hey, everyone, here's our new and you're just scrolling again through Twitter and it's just yeah, okay. And so I found myself by the end of April Fool's Day, not believing anything that anyone was saying anymore, because it's all just...
Did you see what the Adelaide Advertiser newspaper's April Fool joke was this year?
No.
So they published a story saying that the big rocking horse had been sold and was being moved to China.
Oh, no.
For half a second, for less than half a second, it did get me when it said it had been sold to China. I was thinking, oh, China's invested in it, and then I started reading, and I very quickly realised what was going on. But yeah, there you go. Cool. All right, there we go.
Glass half full. There we go.
The Pollyanna podcast.
The Pollyanna podcast. Already you're presenting my good news podcast as bad news. Like, this is a bad news.
Well, as soon as I started saying a few like right on lefty things like, environmental concerns and human rights, you just crumbled and started saying, well, of course we've got to put that in the podcast. Yes.
No.
We'll do that.
There is a bolder idea, which is just to totally, trivialize the serious and totally elevate that which isn't. And
yeah, that's what I think. I think double down on it. So when someone says, there's all, the rise of all this industry in China is causing all this pollution and stuff. So, well, what a great opportunity for environmental companies and innovators to move into this space. This is great. We need more companies to start creating pollution so that this industry can really grow. The carbon capture industry will really grow if we have more pollution. Stay tuned for that, people. I'm sure Tim will be making that in the near future. Let me mention Storyblocks. Storyblocks, the demand-driven library of royalty-free footage and After Effects templates, music, sound effects, photos. They offer subscriptions that will fit any budget. You can download all these pictures and media and put them into your own creations royalty-free. Check out their unlimited all-access plan, which gives you everything in the library. It's fantastic. That's what I use. You go to storyblocks.com/unmade, storyblocks.com/unmade. Just a magical resource for anyone doing anything creative.
We would probably dedicate an entire episode of Glass Half Full to Storyblocks because it's good news. Every way you look at it, it's good news.
Storyblocks is fantastic news. What should I look up on Storyblocks? What should we look up in the library today? I always love to have a little bit of a browse, a bit of a snack, a bit of a graze.
Snack. See if snack comes up. Is snack too much of an Australianism? Is that an Australian word?
Snacks.
Other people?
I've put the word snack into the search bar on Storyblocks. Can you guess what the first video is of?
Sandwich. A sandwich?
No. It is an open packet of potato crisps or chips and a hand coming and picking some of them up.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I got first. In fact, the first 3 images I would say are all very crisp related. The 4th one is a man eating a chocolate chip cookie in a cafe.
I've gone to the images and it's come up with a donut. And in fact, there's several donuts, and then it's moved on to a whole range of other snacks, including, look at those chips. Nice. Then there's fruit.
It's got everything. So I found 8,222 results when I put snack into Storyblocks. So if I was making like a documentary about food or health or snacks in general, I reckon I could make probably a 2-hour feature film just with Storyblocks footage and not have to lift a camera myself once. I could just use all of this.
Instead of Top Gun, it could be Top Snack.
Top Snack. They've got one here that is just like a real close-up of a lovely glass crystal bowl full of black caviar, beluga sturgeon, salted roe. Would you consider caviar a snack? I guess it is, isn't it? It's just for
very
rich people.
Classy snack, isn't it? Yeah. The other thing I like is that underneath all the things they've found for snack, at the top it says people also searched for delicious, crunchy, tasty, yummy, appetizing, buttermilk, fattening, deliciously. In other words, you click on any one of those and a whole bunch of other configurations of thousands of results come up.
Very searchable, lots of good descriptions and metadata on Storyblocks to help you find the stuff you're looking for. Check them out, people. Storyblocks.com/unmade. I've never seen so many videos of people sitting on a sofa eating popcorn in all my life. Thank you, Storyblocks, very much for making us both very hungry.
Yes, that's great. All right, let's finish this episode so I can get a snack.
And now, Spoon of the Week.
Here we go. Well, Brady... Sorry. Okay, here we go. Now, Brady.
I've just noticed when you do that, well, Brady, like sexy, deep spoon of the week voice, I've never noticed you also put on a slightly sexy face. Maybe it's just your hair.
That's right. It's hard to. I don't put on a sexy face. It's just that from time to time I turn it off, just for a moment to rest. It's my default resting face.
Normally, you're really straining to put on just a normal-looking face to make me feel better about myself.
That's right. That's why I have to wear glasses to sort of hold back some of the power of my allure, just to mask some of it from people passing by.
Yeah, they're handsomeness filters, those glasses.
They certainly are.
All right. Oh, what's that spoon? That's an amazing-looking handle.
Oh, yes. No, this is a very exciting spoon today. This is a spoon that we picked up in Shepparton when we went and stayed there. We visited Shepparton a couple of times, but I think I know the particular time we went and stayed for 2 weeks on a dairy farm of some Dutch friends that my father had made. Shepparton is a small town in the middle of Victoria, state in the southern part of Australia, where pretty much most of the spoons come from.
Yep.
And it actually it's a 3D spoon in the sense that at the top it doesn't have a picture of something on the handle. It is a little model of a sort of a little carriage, one of those Cobb & Co. carriages we used to call them. Is Cobb & Co., was that like an Australian thing or was that American as well?
I think that's Australian.
But if you can imagine, these carriages in the old Wild West, going through, being pulled by a couple of horses, it's that kind of thing where the lady would sit in distress as the horses run away and someone jumps on the front and saves them, and how it all goes.
Cobb & Co. was an independent Australian coaching business. So yeah, they used to run coaches across Australia, sort of like Uber before there was cars.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Yes, a far slower Uber Eats that would slowly bring, bacon over 4 weeks to you when you were out on the goldfields or something.
So instead of like the normal enamelled handle with like a picture that so many of the spoons have, this is almost like a sculpture of a coach on top of the spoon.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Over-Explainer. Yes.
This could be some people's first ever spoon of the week. I mean, you said we used to go on holidays. I'm assuming you mean we, the young Tim and your parents, not your current family.
No, and not you and me, we. No, me and my parents, because the spoon comes from the collection of my parents, and we picked up most of them throughout their life, but mainly through my childhood times.
I'm always thinking about people who it's their first ever episode.
Right, okay.
Which is probably stupid of me. But I don't know how many people are going through their Apple podcast app going, I think I'm going to listen to episode 109 of this podcast I've never heard of, where two Australian guys talk about spoons.
I guess people might start with the most recent episode, but yeah. Gee, if you're not enjoying it, guys, there's a lot of really good gold further back. If you can.
Where would they have bought that spoon then? Just like a local gift shop or something? If you were staying on a dairy farm, I'm assuming the dairy farm wasn't selling Cobb & Co. spoons.
No.
You went into Shepparton town one day or something.
Yeah, I had to be reminded of this because it says on there Internet Village. And I'm like, Internet Village? What does that mean? Internet would make sense, but we certainly got this back before the internet. But I Googled it in Shepparton, and it's an international village. And what this is, it's a little piece of global futurism. That is, it's a little village planned in the 1970s that was going to be sort of an international village which would have representative buildings and features from things all around the world: the Netherlands, South Korea, Japan, China, Philippines. And it was a bit like a unique little adventure park with a huge playground and picnic spots and that kind of thing.
I can't help thinking you put the Netherlands a bit higher on that list than they originally intended.
It may have been why we went there because there is a windmill. Oh, yeah. So I'm looking through and it looks all faintly familiar, but it's a bit like going to a paddock and there's lots of little buildings, that are shaped like different cultures and nations around the world. And you go to each one and I'm sure there's someone there selling lollies wearing the national dress of that particular nation,
Around the world in 80 days or 80 minutes. At the Shepparton International Village, you can do your travelling close to home.
It says here we would have been there in the 1980s, And it says in the late 90s, the International Village began to need costly renovation. But then it says in the early 2000s, most of the adventure park was demolished to make way for housing. So it sounds like it started pretty average and went downhill from there.
Now that spoon is all that remains.
That's right. All that remains is one lost spoon.
In the Adelaide collection.
Believed to be
mine. You know what? I reckon if you took that spoon to Shepparton,
yes,
to the top of the hill that overlooks Shepparton, and at midday on June the 1st, you hold it above your head, a laser shoots out of the handle like in Raiders of the Lost Ark and points to the location where the International Village used to be.
we would be able to find it. That's right, and dig for it. Yeah. It's great. I've come to the Facebook page. There's a Shepparton International Village Facebook page, and it's really cool because this is long gone, but there's all sorts of stuff like a YouTube clip of a TV, like a local, low budget TV advertisement from 1993, which is just by even looking at the first image of it without clicking on it, I can tell is going to be absolutely magnificent.
The International Village was established in 1975 primarily as a tourist attraction featuring the lifestyles of different cultures.
For those who this is your first episode of the Unmade podcast, Tim and I are partial to an early 90s crappy TV ad.
As you enter through the impressive Maltese-style building, commanding a view of the attractive lake and picturesque parkland, you'll set off on a fascinating journey.
Particularly for adventure parks that are some of the worst day you could ever spend in your life.
Not when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you think it's amazing.
Probably the first thing you'll see will be the Dutch windmill that dominates the horizon. It has become a landmark for the village, a symbol for the many people of Dutch heritage who live in the area.
Well, perhaps so. That's right. I met a genuine person from China. I met a genuine person, and it turns out it's, Barry from the farm wearing a skirt, or, you know what I mean? Pretending to be. Yeah. There's a hell of a lot of insensitivities going on, I think, looking at it at 2022 eyes.
As you pass through the brightly painted entrance gates of the Chinese pavilion and cross the arched bridge, so reminiscent of the willow pattern plate legends, you'll feel yourself stepping into a century-long past.
There also seems to be some photos of protests. So there seems to have been some protests about its closure, or protests about its demolition, or maybe protesting, asking for its demolition. Who can know? But anyway, I've got a spoon.
And you don't have to travel to be able to shop internationally. The gift shop and the various pavilions at the village bring you the marketplaces of the world. The International Village also provides an ideal setting for special functions such as weddings, seminars and concerts. It's open 7 days a week, and special concessions are available for families, tours and special events. The International Village, Parkside Drive, Shepparton, your passport to the world.
There'll be a picture of the spoon in the usual places. Now, this is the part of the show where we do our little giveaway, because we have Patreon supporters, people who've gone to patreon.com/unmadefm and make small contributions towards the show. They make it possible, but it also makes it possible for us to give you prizes.
Woo!
Do you want to read the winners this week?
Yeah, do I?
First cab off the rank is we give an Unmade podcast souvenir spoon, which have been specially struck here in the UK. Who's getting the spoon, Tim?
The spoon is going to Drake from Memphis.
Drake from Memphis. I can't remember if that was Memphis, Tennessee, or Memphis somewhere else.
Let's just say Tennessee. Yep. Drake from Memphis. Living in Graceland.
How many Drakes from Memphis can there be? If you're from a different Memphis Drake, it's probably you, whether you're from Tennessee or not. We also have a Sofa Shop mixtape, which is an audio tape collection of some of our best Sofa Shop covers. Where's that heading?
Tyler from Iowa.
Oh, that nearly rhymes. Tyler from Iowa. And we're also going to send some Spoon of the Week collector cards. A handful of those to 5 people so they can start or continue their Spoon of the Week collector card collection. Where are those going?
From the equally cool-sounding Ross from Atlanta, Georgia, Alan from Stockholm, Michael B. from Indianapolis, Tim N. from Michigan, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Axel from Denmark, A-K-S-E-L. Axel, I guess it is, from Denmark. Congratulations, Axel.
Well done. Well done. Thank you for being supporters of the show. Patreon.com/unmadefm. It's always so exciting seeing new names on the list. We also have a list on our website where everyone's name is there, a big wall of fame. If you'd like to be part of it, go and check it out. Link in the notes. But don't do it right now, because if you do it right now, you're going to miss out on...
Moon of the Moon. On second thoughts, do it now. Now would be a perfect time for a toilet break.
Yeah, that's why I always plug the Patreon before Moon of the Week, because I know people are about to get bored and they might go and do it. So
that's right. I'm interested. You've got my attention. I promise. Which moon?
I am throwing in for people who are fans of normal moons. This is a bit of a curveball. Probably not so much of a curveball for you because you're not that into moons. I want to take you, Tim, to an object in space called Eris, E-R-I-S. This is not the moon.
Good choice.
This is not the moon.
Good choice.
This is not the moon.
Oh, okay,
right?
sorry. Yes, no, okay.
Yes.
Eris. Yes.
Eris is what's known as a trans-Neptunian object, a TNO. And basically that means it's a big object further away than Neptune.
Oh.
Because after you go out past Neptune, which is the last planet, if you don't count Pluto, you get these things called trans-Neptunian objects. The most famous one is Pluto. Some people like to think of Pluto as a planet, but officially now it's a trans-Neptunian object, which means it's a big object further away than Neptune.
Right.
And Eris is another one of them. So Eris is like Pluto. It's another big object far, far away. It's much further away even than Pluto. Much further away than Pluto. It's about the same size as Pluto. It's very, very slightly smaller in width, but it's heavier than Pluto. So you're looking at basically another object just like Pluto, but further away. It's very icy, very bright coloured because it's icy, but it's very cold. So you can imagine it's out there slowly going around the sun. It takes 560 years for this thing to do a lap of the sun.
Okay.
The Earth does a lap of the sun in 1 year. This takes 557 years. So it's far, far away, slowly cruising around the sun.
I know you haven't got to the point yet, but I have to interrupt with two questions quickly.
Yep.
Firstly, can you explain what is the controversy? Why isn't Pluto a planet? What's the difference between a large trans-Neptunian object and a planet?
You're opening a can of worms there, but do you know what? Funnily enough, the reason Pluto is not a planet anymore is because of Eris. When they found Eris, they were like, hang on, there's loads more of these things out there. Are these all going to be planets, or do we need to think more carefully about what a planet is? The main things you're looking at that stops Pluto being a planet and Eris being a planet. Partly size. The main thing is whether or not it's cleared its orbit of other objects. Like, is it big enough to have sort of cleared the stuff out the way? Or is it still drifting along are there other things along its orbit and things like that? It's almost like about dominance. Has it kind of come to dominate its part of space around the sun? And if there's still lots of other debris and stuff around there, and if the object itself's not big enough, or if it's got a really big moon that's almost the same size as the planet itself, which is one of the problems with Pluto. Pluto has a moon, which we'll come to another day, that's so big that really it's like two objects orbiting each other. It's not really one small object going around a big object. The centre of gravity between Pluto and its moon, which is called Charon, its main moon, is actually outside the two objects. It's sort of between them, and they're orbiting this invisible point in space between them. That's how big, because they're so big, they're kind of going around each other, like this, as Brady moves his hands, rather than one going around the other. That's where it comes from. But when they found Eris, that was one of the things. The guy who found Eris is a guy called Michael Brown, whose Twitter handle, I think, is Pluto Killer. He's considered the guy who killed Pluto as a planet. So anyway, we'll come back to Michael Brown in a minute.
Just to interrupt for my second point, it does sound a little bit... Calling Pluto not a planet, but a trans-Neptunian object It's almost like if someone had 5 kids, right, and they named the first kid Peter, the next Sarah, and then Michael, and then they've got 2 more kids, and they go, oh no, we're not going to call them kids. They're just going to be trans Michael objects. You know what I mean? Like they're just like it's just they're just 2 more of the same thing out there, but we've decided that they're not going to be given names.
Anyway, coming back to Eris. So Eris is out there doing its business, but Eris has a moon. They found Eris in 2005, early in the year. Later in the year, they found that Eris, this tiny, tiny object, twice as far away as Pluto, has a moon going around it. So that's this week's Moon of the Week, and it's called dysnomia or dysnomia.
So the fact that it has a moon doesn't that's not like a qualifier for a planet. It's like, oh, you're a planet now, you've got a moon, No, it's not enough?
No, it doesn't qualify you. No.
Is its moon significantly smaller or of a similar size?
The moon is smaller. The moon's about a quarter or about a third the size of Eris. So quite big in relation to Eris, but also significantly smaller. It's 700 kilometres across, which makes it about a quarter to a third the size of Eris. These things are so far away, we can't measure them super exactly.
Right.
And it goes around Eris in a very circular orbit, unusually circular, very, very circular orbit, and it's about 37,000 kilometres away from Eris as it just quietly goes around Eris in a circle. Dysnomia. Right. Now, when they first found Eris, they called it Xena. That was its original sort of informal name before a formal name was chosen. And they named it after Xena, warrior princess.
Oh, yeah, right.
So when they found the moon going around it, they originally called it Gabrielle, who I understand is the sidekick of Xena in Xena Warrior Princess in the TV show.
I never watched it, but yeah. Anyway.
Nah, I didn't either, really, but that was the sidekick. So now that the moon is called dysnomia or dysnomia, that's actually named after the Greek goddess of lawlessness, which is considered a bit of a funny coincidence because Xena was played by Lucy Lawless.
Right, okay.
So some people like think there's some deliberate link there, but that's actually a pure coincidence. The reason it was called dysnomia or dysnomia is because Mike Brown, the guy who found it, his wife is called Diana, who he calls Di, and he wanted to incorporate her name into it, so that's why he calls it dysnomia. He sort of lobbied for that, so it'd be partly named after his wife, which I think is a nice little nugget. So all the moons we've been doing so far have been moons going around planets, but today is a moon going around a trans-Neptunian object. Do you want to see it?
Yes, please. You know me and trans-Neptunian objects.
You're always up for a picture. So here's a picture of Eris and its tiny little moon.
What, was this taken on your phone or something?
When you consider how far away this is pretty impressive. That was actually that was taken with the Hubble Space Telescope.
It looks like you've just turned on a flashlight at the other side of your bedroom and then turned the lights off. So is that little dot there? That's the
moon. And this second picture I've sent you is an artist's concept. So this is just a painting of what it might look like if you were there.
Oh, right.
But still,
Is that why there's an X-Wing fighter in it? So is it still inside our solar system?
Yes. It's orbiting the sun. The sun's gravity is holding it in place.
Right.
As I said, it's taking every 560 years, it completes an orbit. Isn't that amazing? In our lifetime, we'll only even do a fraction of its orbit.
It's pretty lazy, really, isn't it? So the name of our solar system is the Milky Way, right?
No.
Oh.
The Milky Way is the name of our galaxy, which is like 100, 200 billion stars, and just one star in the Milky Way happens to be the sun, and the sun has planets going around it.
Ah, that's right. Nice. Yep. That's helpful. Oh, good work, man. I certainly was not aware of this moon.
Neither was I.
Neither was anyone before Mike Brown came along.
No.
So thank you for introducing me. A good moon of the week. Yes, interesting. So if you could go to dysnomia or dysnomia or to the International Village at Shepparton, which would tempt you the most?
It sounds like there's more to see at dysnomia.
Visiting the beautiful 23-hectare landscape park is a relaxing experience.
Tim,
Yep.
Hover,
Nice.
the domain registrar that we know and love, that we register our domains with. Go and check out Hover at hover.com/unmade, where you'll get 10% off your first purchase, to register the domain of your choice. Do you know what? I just recently registered a domain with Hover that will be of some interest to you.
Yes.
Because you know how they have all the suffixes, you know, your .coms, .net, .com.au, .org, .ninja,
Yeah.
all the ones you normally use day to day.
Yeah.
But they also have some novelty ones, and I've used one of those because I have registered 21waves.surf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And because Hover is so easy to use, within minutes of purchasing it, I then diverted it to some of our merchandise. So if you want for 21 Waves Tim surfing merchandise, so 21waves.surf. And I think this is a great example of why it's a good idea to register domain names that are useful to you. Because I could say, hey everyone, if you want to go and get some merchandise, go to this site and then search this and do that and find that. Or I can just say something that's really catchy and easy to remember, like 21waves.surf. And people are more likely just to type that in and then go and check out all the cool merch.
No. A little bit of regret giving you that photo now, but there you go. That's there it is on 21waves.surf for all to see. Nice work.
So if you're running a business, you should definitely be going to Hover. But even if you've just got personal things like your dog's Instagram, or you know, your local church, or your whatever you're doing, it's always a good idea to have a few domain names that are of use, whether you use them to build a website or whether you use them just to divert to another website or social media or whatever. Go and check out Hover. It's so easy to use. hover.com/unmade. And as I said, if you do the /unmade, 10% off your first purchase. And the prices are already great, so it's a bargain on top of a bargain.
Yeah, it's super cheap. Do it, people. I did it because you know how I moved the church onto Hover and the church domain. But then it's so cheap that I actually grabbed a bunch of very close variations on those domains as well.
Yes.
Just bought them as well, just to grab if people misspell or get things nearby with a few other suffixes and so forth. I grabbed them as well. Grabbed them all at once.
If a church is using Hover, is that like basically an endorsement from God, or is that not? It doesn't go that far. I assume it doesn't go that far.
Well, my endorsement is a tacit endorsement from God in itself.
Disclaimer: God does not endorse Hover, but Brady and Tim do. Thank you, Hover. They're really great supporters of the show.
Thank you, Hover. Are we ready yet for your idea about the music?
Yes, it's time for my idea.
Awesome.
You've been a good boy. You've been a good boy.
I've intuitively just grabbed a pad and pen because I'm just feeling like it's a pad and pen kind of moment. All
right. My idea for a podcast is that people come on or they contribute in some way. There are a million podcasts where people talk about music they like, you know, Desert Island Discs, and then there's a million variations. This is another one where it's just a chance for people to talk about a song. But the premise here, this podcast is called My Theme Tune. And this is a podcast where people have to decide on the song that they would use every time they walked into a room. Oh. Like that would be used to introduce them. It would be like your anthem. Like the Queen obviously has the national anthem when she walks in the room. But
yes.
Everyone has to choose the song they want to play. That's every time they walk into a room.
Wow.
Like every time Tim walks in, what's the song that gets played on the PA system?
That's like with Hail to the Chief when the president walks in.
Yeah, like that. So I did ask my wife about this briefly before coming on the show.
Oh,
and
great idea.
She kind of actually has one because for my wife's job, she works in a TV studio and she has to walk into the TV studio all the time. And on Friday, which is a bit more of a fun day in the office, whenever she walks into the studio, the people who run the sound systems and everything play the song All About the Bass by Meghan Trainor.
Because you know I'm all about that bass, no trouble.
So that's kind of like a song. When she walks in, that song starts blaring out. So she actually has that experience.
Oh, that's great.
So I said, so is that your theme tune? Would that be your theme tune? And she said, no, I didn't choose that. They just play that at their choice. If she was going to choose one, she said she would want Titanium by David Guetta, sung by Sia.
I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Far away.
Would she have Sia singing it or you singing it? Because I like that.
Me singing it will not be included in the podcast. That was just heard by you.
Oh, people, give it to the Patreon supporters. Come on, that's cold.
You shoot me down, but I'm on fire. I am titanium.
Audrey has one. Sometimes if we're in a good mood we're playing with Audrey, we will play the song Chihuahua by Luis Avera and his band Lua Boys. I don't know how to pronounce that, but there's a song called Chihuahua. Is anything coming to mind yet for you? I'm not going to lock you in yet, but is any songs coming to mind for you yet? That would be the theme tune that plays like every time Tim gets up on the stage to do a sermon or walks in the room, or
I actually love the bit from Schindler's List. The sort of the lovely song, but I think that's a little bit dour, isn't it? Na, 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 na. But I also think of the songs that I've chosen over the years as the ringtone, because that's a tune you're happy to listen to over and again, and sort of announces whoever you're going to speak to. It's their theme tune. Here's someone calling me now. And those songs, I've had a song called Perfect Day by Lou Reed. I've had that for a couple of years now, and it's still there, and I really love that song. There's another lovely song called All This Time by Sting, and it sort of launches in a wonderful, energetic, beautiful tune. All this time, so that would be a good one too.
I feel like this is a song choice though, where it's obviously it's up to you and the individual to choose what song they want, but I feel like this is different to a song you like or a song you're willing to listen to lots of times. It should be more a song that says something about you.
Yeah.
And it says something to the audience and the people in the room. It makes a statement about you and who you are, which is where I think this is a different to my favourite song or a song I like.
Yeah.
There's a different criteria here. I think I've told this story before on the podcast, but one thing that I always find mildly amusing is the Australian cricket team, quite a number of years ago now, went through a phase where they decided they would have songs play when the players came out to bat.
Yes.
So when it was your turn to bat, you were choosing a song. And the captain of the Australian team at the time, a man named Steve Waugh, chose the song Better Man by Pearl Jam.
Oh, no.
Which when you first think of it, sounds like a cool thing, because there's this line that, talking about being a better man and stuff like that. And it's at first you think, and it's quite a cool sounding song. So you'd think, oh yeah, that's a cool choice. It makes a statement as you come out to bat to say how good you are and that. But of course, when you actually listen to that song, the song is about domestic abuse, isn't it? And a woman who's, I think she's tolerating domestic abuse because she thinks she can't find a better man.
Can't find a better man, yeah.
She dreams in color, she dreams in red. Can't find a better man.
It was a terrible choice, but I don't know why that was able to happen, but it was a terrible choice of song. But anyway, so you do want to be a bit careful, I guess, about your song choice.
I remember you two say that about how people use their song One as the wedding dance in people's weddings. We're going to be one, we were two, now we're one, we've got married. But actually it's about, we're one, but we're not the same. And there's, the differences and the struggles and the reality. It's a much more gritty and realistic song, which again might be appropriate, but it's not just about...
It's not a good wedding.
No, it's not.
A sentiment for a wedding.
I think politicians often have this on the campaign trail, don't they? It's not just the president, but they will have something particular that's playing just before they get up and get the speech, and it becomes their particular theme song.
So you'd think I would have had a good suggestion here because I thought of the idea, but I actually haven't given it much thought myself as to what I want it to be. The thing that gave me the idea, though, I think, was, you know how when you start your car, if it automatically connects to your Bluetooth, it'll play the last song you were playing. And for about 3 or 4 times in a row, the song that I had queued up happened to be the Star Wars theme by John Williams. For some reason, I'd been listening to it for some reason, and because I don't listen to a lot of music, the music hadn't skipped on. So every time I started my car for 2 or 3 weeks, the Star Wars music would start, and it was actually a really cool way to start a drive, to have the Star Wars, to press start of your car and then have the Star Wars music go. But that's not my theme. The song I'm going with for now, until I think of a better one, is the song "When You Walk in the Room" by Paul Carrack, which is a song I quite like from the olden days.
I can hear the guitars playing lovely tunes every time that you walk in the room.
That's nice.
I'm going with that, pending a more appropriate one.
Oh, golly.
You got an idea yet?
Okay, remember when you said, Tim, you're going to wish, I wish I had more time for this? Yeah. That's exactly the moment.
I will let you in parish notices next week come back with some more suggestions, because I know it's unfair to put you on the spot like this.
Yeah, it's really, there's some beautiful songs, but you're really thinking about the first little bit of it, or the way how it explodes and creates.
Yeah, you do need to pick like a 20 or 30 second, because you can't play a whole song every time you walk in the room. I do think you want to pick something that just sets a mood and says something about you. And
there's a song by the Stone Roses called "She Bangs the Drums," and and that sort of launches off in a very happy, like, that gives me a lot of great feelings, and I got a lot of lovely memories associated with it. The riff I play the most is a song called "Teenage Riot" by Sonic Youth, and that has it's not quite the start of it, but the riff, that's a sort of, I'd feel like, yeah, that's mine. Like, I play it all the time whenever I pick up a...
And what mood does it create? What statement would it be saying about, here's Tim Hine?
It's sort of like, it's a very energetic and determined, but groovy sort of, drive to it. So I feel like if I was running upstairs, yeah, here we go, up onto a stage, that'd be a good one to go with.
You're not thinking a bit of "Simply the Best" by Tina Turner?
No, I'm not.
No. Do you know what? Like, that, obviously that song is much maligned now, and how it was used by David Brent in the British Office, has become legendary.
Yeah.
But it is still a really uplifting, motivational song. And for Australians, obviously, it's very much associated with the sport of rugby league, because in the 1980s, I think, they used it as their promotional song, and they had these really, like, innovative advertisements that became really famous and popular in Australia. And it got to the point where every year when the rugby league grand final was played, Tina Turner would be flown in to sing that song at the game and stuff like that. So it's very associated with rugby in Australia. And still, I sometimes go back and watch those ads, and that song is very motivational.
There's a good one. I can imagine people picking something like "Walking on Sunshine," which is just right from the first bar, is just like lifts the spirit.
"Walk of Life" by Dire Straits has that nice little kind of jaunty sort of bit of keyboards in it. That would be quite nice to walk into as well, I think.
I've mentioned before the song "Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher." It's got that lovely dun 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 dun. That's the sort of soul feel. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I know it lifts my heart a lot when I hear that. Yeah, this is a really good idea. If you could just to really pick. Let's spend another 15-20 minutes just pondering this for a little while. Okay.
When it's your turn to preach at church, do they play any music when you come up, or do you just walk up in like solemn silence?
Just generally, I come on just after the person's read a passage of scripture.
Okay.
It would be good to have a theme tune, though, wouldn't it? It'd be really great.
Yeah.
The kids get a theme tune when they head out to Sunday school. They get the theme from Bluey. Or remember, for a while, Colonel Katrina and the band would launch into the Sofa Shop theme.
I mean, you could ask Colonel Katrina to compose you something, and she could literally play it when you go up on stage.
That is a wonderful idea. That is a brilliant idea. Yes, absolutely. I need a theme tune.
Because just like in Star Wars, there's Luke's theme tune and Leia's and all the characters have their own bit of music. It's time for Tim to have a bit of music.
And whenever it's the dark side or Darth Vader, it's dun 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 dun. I wouldn't want that as I get up to preach. That would be quite difficult to overcome.
That would be quite cool. That would be cool to walk in the room to, though.
Maybe Blue Monday by New Order would be a good idea. I like that.
I don't think you're getting it. I think you're too inclined to pick cool bits of music. You're not grasping that it has to be, When You Walk in the Room by Paul Carrick is nowhere near my favourite song or the coolest song, but I just think it would be a cool thing to walk into the room to, and it sets a mood. And I think you need to, think more outside what you think are cool songs.
Why would I go with something that's not a cool song? Why... You want to get the ambience and the mood of something.
All right.
Maybe something by Harry Connick or something with a bit of brass or, you know what I mean? It's a bit... Yeah. I was thinking, just back on, because I mentioned the sofa shop, I was thinking about 21 Waves and surfing and so forth. If I was ever to open a surf shop, I would call it the Surfer Shop. The Surfer Shop. The Surfer Shop is your only stop for the surfboard you need. Nice. Good idea. That's a great idea. I'm going to think about nothing else until we come to our next episode and have parish news, because I will have a top 3 with a definitive one answer at that point.
Okay.
All right.
I wouldn't mind some movie score, like a bit of Forrest Gump, a bit of Alan Silvestri. Da-na-na. No. Or the slow one. Do 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 do. No, I'd go more the uplifting Forrest Gump.
You probably wouldn't want Jaws, would you?
The score for True Romance is quite a nice background sound. That would be quite nice to walk into a room to.
How do you remember that?
Because I've edited lots of things to it. I've used it in lots of videos over the years that I've made. It's one of my favourite pieces of music to edit to.
Oh, nice. The Indiana Jones theme is a wonderful crew.
That's more of it. Yeah, that's like, yeah. It depends if do you want to make a low-key entrance? Do you want to be a hero when you walk in the room?
Yeah, that's true. It could be something like What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, just very slow and you sort of glide in. Hi, everyone. The pressure's off. If you come into Indiana Jones, then the pressure's on to do something spectacular when you're there. You've got to have a hat and a whip and you better be on horseback. But if you're just walking into a room...
If you want to lower expectations, you could walk into the room to a sound effect like wah, wah, wah.
Oh, dear, that's classic.
Teenage Dirtbag would be good for that.
Teenage Dirtbag. Imagine if you became the president and you decided, no, from now on, it's not going to be Hail to the Chief. I'm going to walk into Beautiful Day by U2. And then for 8 years or 4 years, it's just
or imagine if the president chose Teenage Dirtbag. I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby.
That sounds like there's something that would happen in an Adam Sandler movie where he became president. And he's wearing sloppy clothes and he's just some jerk. Beautiful. Good idea. Great idea.
All right.
I'm sick with jealousy that you had that idea. I'm glad you had it and I've loved talking about it, but damn it, why did you think of it?
In the next episode, Tim's going to think about it and he'll give us some candidates in the next episode for himself. I'll try and come up with a better one than Paul Carrick when you walk in the room. And also send us a message either on Twitter or Reddit or email. Get in touch with us and let us know what you would pick. We'd love to hear from other people, because you might have a better idea than us. You almost certainly will.
I like the idea of Lemon from U2. You don't know, such a distinctive sound. It would just be unlike anything else. Or the start of You're the Voice by John Farnham,
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, with the clapping.
Dun, 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 dun.